All right, joining us now for an exclusive interview. He had a seat, that only one other person in America had, right behind the president giving the speech, and that's the Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, is with us. Mr. Speaker, thank you for being with us. First of all, let's get your reaction. I just compared Joe Biden on a regular basis, regular Joe, day-to-day Joe, and we saw a very different Joe Biden tonight, very angry, very jacked up, you might say, maybe charitably over-caffeinated would be a way to put it. What was your reaction to that? Was that surprising to you?
It was a little bit surprising, but the way I would describe the speech is hyper-partisan and full of falsehoods. I mean, you know, usually at a State of the Union, there are at least some bipartisan segments. There are a few things that people can agree upon. That didn't happen tonight. He came to give what has been described as a campaign speech, and it was that. It was very disappointing to all of us.
It was like that. You're absolutely right, Mr. Speaker. Usually there would be, some appeal to all sides. Do you think maybe that has to do with the issue of politics, where he stands with the base of his party? He seems to be bleeding a large amount of support from a big part of the Democratic base, as I was discussing with Senator Cruz. Do you think that was the calculation behind that?
I think it is. Look, he's desperate, Sean, and that's obvious. He's the most unpopular president who has ever run for re-election. A lot of what he's done is unprecedented, but tonight, instead of taking responsibility for that, he tried to lay blame. I mean, for one thing, the border, right? That's the number one issue in America. That's what every American, no matter where they live, wants to hear about. How is this catastrophe going to be resolved? I think it was 41 minutes into his speech before the commander-in-chief even made any reference to the border. And then he made no mention whatsoever about anything that he would do, his actions. I mean, he has executive authority. We all know he could solve that problem right now. He's been able to do that for 3 years, but he won't. And that was of great concern to all of us. Look, there's a lot of memes, I guess, going around tonight about my facial expressions. I did not like the speech. I don't think the American people liked it, and there wasn't much I could do about that. I guess it didn't hide that very well.
Oh, I guess so. All right, so I guess maybe this is a question maybe people would like to know what goes on behind the scenes. Usually you would introduce the president to the House chamber. That didn't happen tonight. Did that surprise you? Did you expect that?
Listen, I was prepared to do it, but he jumped the gun. He missed his cue. He was about 15 or 20 minutes late upon arrival. I haven't yet heard why that was. But yeah, he jumped in there and began his speech. I was going to do it formally, but I never got the opportunity, and I didn't want to interrupt the president and be disrespectful. But it wasn't the Speaker of the House that missed his cue. It was the president.
Well, I think that was well said. I think maybe one other behind-the-scenes question that people might be interested in. You spend a lot of time up there with the vice president. Any private conversations, small talk maybe?
We did. We had some small talk. There was a lot of time that we were there together waiting. We talked, for one example, about our parents. I asked her if her parents had been alive, did they survive to see her serving as vice president, and she lamented that they had not. And she asked me about mine. I lost my dad 3 days before I got elected to Congress, so he didn't get to see this either. But we agreed that our parents are enjoying this from heaven. And that was a nice moment. But beyond that, Sean, it was just an overly partisan, unnecessarily partisan evening. I mean, the State of the Union, there's always some partisan elements to it, but there's normally applause lines that everyone can join in on. I mean, that's kind of the unifying moment about this tradition, and we got none of that tonight. There was almost nothing that we could agree to because it was so full of false information, and it was hard for me to hold that in.
I guess starting with the issue of the border, I mean, the House did pass H.R. 2. I do not believe that the bill that the Senate was pushing forward, I mean, before it would even be triggered, you would have at least 5,000 illegal immigrants, coming into the country. That made absolutely no sense. It also offered discretion where they didn't even have to follow the bill if it became law. In other words, to me, it would have codified into law what Joe Biden has been doing for 3 years, on top of telling America that the border is secure and closed, which is a lie. But it would have codified into law that his administration has been aiding and abetting in the law breaking and facilitating it. and they had bragged about how they rescinded all of the Trump-era policies that were working. So that was a bit surprising. We also surprised that he attacked the Supreme Court in front of the justices right there.
Yeah, I think that was a new low. I'd never seen that before. I'm not sure any of us had. I'm not sure who wrote the speech, but they went out there to lob grenades tonight. And, look, I don't think the American people are buying that, Sean. He tried to suggest that, we're in great shape and the State of the Union is strong. We all know that's not true. The State of the Union is in decline in every measurable category. On the world stage, our sovereignty, our safety, the economy, everybody knows it. So, gaslighting the American people is not going to work. And I thought it was a very big disappointment tonight.
All right, House Speaker Mike Johnson, thank you, sir, for being with us.